So but that's the thing that's so confusing, because cops didn't start showing up until afternoon, I'm sure, if the 911 call wasn't made until about 11:58. So 50 didn't show up for hours. So my question then is, and maybe she talked to you about this more off record or something like that, and maybe you can give us this information or not, but what was the initial phone call around 10 o'clock for? To get rid of stuff, or like what was the call for? Why would DM call Greek or any sorority, right? Why not call 911? So that's the thing I'm still curious about. I know she was leaning on trap house situation, but what, to get rid of drugs, to get rid of some recreationals, like what paraphernalia, what?
She stated
more about that.
She stated that this was a place supposedly that Molly was a drug that you can get at. Now, I took a lot of what she said with a grain of salt, based on I felt like a lot of it was speculation. But I had to ask her. I was like, "What did your daughter say about this place?" And the first thing she said that was a party house, as a place that you could go, you could get drugs, you can get alcohol, booze, things of that nature. And then I asked her, I was like, was this, something that she knew about or said after the fact, or was this something that was common knowledge to the area? She mentioned that it was common knowledge, and she brought up like 5 different houses that were known to have been something of a similar situation, where you could go score drugs, get drunk, party house, the whole 9 yards. It was this house, the Sigma Chi house, and a few others that I didn't recognize. Now, her daughter has been there for 3.5 years, I guess. She's supposed to be graduating. If she does go back to Washington State University this spring, she's supposed to be graduating this spring. And so she's been a part of Greek life and Greek row for a while, and would be privileged to some of that information. In my opinion, you look at some of the body cam footage of how these kids were acting when it was alcohol and police were around. They didn't want to open the door. They didn't want to come out. So if they had something with some sort of paraphernalia or some kind of drugs, even if it wasn't like a large amount of drugs, let's just say it was recreational drugs, they may have panicked and still called their friends to come help them get rid of whatever it was that was in the house before they contacted the police. It doesn't necessarily mean that it was a large quantity or any of those necessarily. But she alluded that she felt, and that her daughter had told her, because she had asked her daughter, why did they call you at 10 a.m.? Why did they call you? And she said, I don't know. Her roommate called her and just said, hey, there was a big incident that had occurred. Like, I don't think they knew the extent of it, as far as that it was a quadruple homicide per se, but that there was at least a death that was, or something serious had occurred there at the.
Crazy. I'm sorry. I'm still trying to wrap my mind around why they even called. I'm sorry, like we heard the story of the DM seeing him walk by her. She closes the door. She doesn't do anything for a couple hours, at least 5 hours, it sounds like. Then she calls, instead of calling 911, she calls other frat boys and other sorority sisters. I in my mind, I'm still wondering, what's the point of that? Like, they're not coming to save you. They're not coming to your rescue. Like, that's why you call 911. So first responders are there to save people's lives and whatnot. So I'm sorry, I'm still trying to wrap my mind around it. And I know that there are people out here, other people that are naysayers to this kind of theory, this kind of narrative. They're looking at this and going, "Come on, like don't do this. These kids, they're just kids, blah, 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 quit perpetrating this dialogue, this narrative." What do you say to people who are saying that? Because I'm sure you've gotten a fair share of trolls or hate in the comment section on this interview alone. What do you have to say about this?
Yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, just because somebody is doing something illegal doesn't mean that they can't be a victim of something else. And it doesn't mean that they deserved anything. And this is a horrible crime, on its own. This is something that there's no rhyme or reason. And this guy needs to, be held to the full extent of the law there in Idaho. But at the same time, I mean, you have kids living their lives for the first time outside of their parents' house, usually for the first time, with little or no responsibility when it comes to partying and things of that nature. And um, you never know what somebody gets involved in. And like I said before, it may not have been as big of a trap house as what people are thinking of it as being. It could have been just recreational type of stuff. And the person that they may have called at the sorority may have been somebody who sold them, or was also involved in whatever may have been happening at that house, and that they
Mhm.
felt the need to get rid of the uh, narcotics that were in there or whatnot, to make sure that it doesn't come back to them as far as that goes. These are young people. They're not the most experienced people when it comes to the world. And so, you see how they act when it came to alcohol related offense, and the police over there for just a loud noise complaint. I'm sure the fear, so much emotion must have been going through their minds. It's not saying, like I said, that she was responsible for this, or maybe perhaps even if she called the police, that there would have been an outcome different than what had occurred. I mean, you look at the description of the injuries that these victims had. I
Mhm.
don't think there was any saving them, even if she called police that night at 4:20 in the morning.
I mean, yeah, obviously, what was done, unfortunately, what was done was done. There
Right.
was no chance of them, from what the rumors that are being had right now on how gruesome the scenes were. Yeah, I mean, they were long gone before he even walked out the door.
PASCAL. You are now rocking with that dude Pascal. We be going wild.